All right, Harold. So I got to ask you, man, just being a baseball lifer, just growing up, man, who were some of your favorite baseball players?
Oh man, you talking all time?
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, Willie Mays when I was a kid, doing this thing. My favorite was Pete Rose because Pete Rose was diving head first, so we want to hit a triple. So we get in the air this high like Pete, diving. I mean, I can go on and on. Burl Clemente was a big fan of the family. My brothers were big fans of him. So yeah, that's going way back in the day. And my mom was the biggest Reggie Jackson fan ever. Name one of our dogs Reggie. That's how big it is. If you're naming your dog after somebody, that's big.
I love it. I love it. So, let's talk about these two teams. A lot of people didn't have these two teams even in a playoff spot going into the season, right? And we're talking about a 90-win team and a 94-win team. 84-win team. Can you talk about what you have seen from both of these teams as far as like the resilience and just being sort of like the underdogs and how rare it is to see two underdogs in the World Series?
Well, it's kind of refreshing for the whole sport. There's two different ways to get here, right? I mean, Texas went, we're going to go spend some money. We're going to get an old school manager, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to get these players. We're going to go see what we can do. Kept getting pitching, everything else. They're here. And then you look at Arizona. We're going to go young, but we're going to be aggressive. We're going to steal bases. We're going to force errors. We're going to come after you, and we're going to try to control the strike zone. And they're here. So I think it shows there's different pathways to the World Series, so that's a good thing.
I love it, man. Just being a part of baseball so long, I got to ask you, a guy like Shohei Otani, and I mean, you play with a guy like Ken Griffey Jr., you've been around some of the greats, but seeing Shohei Otani, and did you ever vision baseball at this point, having a guy that can pitch and hit like this at the same time? Because it was sort of like an afterthought. They wouldn't let it happen, but now you have a guy that can do that. What are your thoughts about that and just Shohei Otani in general, and for him to get to this, like a World Series one day, what does he have to do to do that?
Well, he's the biggest star in the sport. The only thing I can think about when I think about Shohei Otani that I envision anybody like that, it would have had to be a wiffle ball in the backyard. I'm going to dominate pitching, and I'm going to hit some home runs. He's playing wiffle ball in the big leagues. I'll come out and throw 100 miles an hour, and I'm going to hit a ball 450 feet. We'll never see anything like it. I'm glad and blessed to be able to see it now because it's incredible. Don't give me Babe Ruth. Come on, man. Babe Ruth couldn't do this. Babe Ruth wasn't 6'5", fastest guy on the field. Babe Ruth didn't throw 100. Okay, this guy is something that we've never seen in the history of the sport.
I love it. Two more questions. So, Dusty Baker just recently retired, and obviously, storied career, even as a player, been on those Dodgers teams and just different things like that. Just your experience of not only being around him, seeing what he has done as a manager, finally getting that World Series ring. Can you just talk about Dusty, what he meant to you?
Dusty, I love Dusty Baker. And I remember the first time when he was managing teams, way back in the day, talking with some of the different players. And one of the things Dusty would do is say, hey, you playing on Saturday, I know it's Wednesday, get your rest, please. I'm telling you now. So that allowed guys to get prepared, get ready to go. Coolest person ever. I think Stuart Scott really came up with the phrase, it's cooler than the other side of the pillow. He was thinking about Dusty. Because Dusty's amazing. And then if you look at his career, you're on the on-deck circle when Hank Aaron breaks Babe Ruth's record. So that means I was the protection for Hank Aaron when I was a kid. That's pretty good stuff. Then you win titles with the Dodgers as a player. Then for him to finally get that championship as a Astro, he's going into Cooperstown 5 years from now. He's got over 2,000 wins as a manager. I can't wait to be there to hear the speech. But our game's going to miss him, but I don't even look at how much we're going to miss him. I'm going to look at how much we appreciated him and all he did. I don't think Barry Bonds becomes a player and the person he is if he doesn't play for Dusty. He had Ken Griffey Jr. and Larkin and all those guys, Deion Sanders. He had all of them in Cincinnati, and so Dusty's been able to have the greats. And then you finish with a guy named Altuve, who he says he's one of the baddest dudes I ever seen. Yeah. So think about that statement. Let's think about that statement. All the things I just said. He's on the on-deck circle for Hank Aaron. He had Barry Bonds. He had Ken Griffey Jr. He had Barry Larkin. That's three guys that are some of the greatest players ever. And he had Deion Sanders before he had sunglasses. Wow. I'm telling you. And now he's talking about how bad Altuve is.
Wow. Okay. Man. Well, last question. I just want to give you your flowers, man, as a person that,
Thanks.
being black and growing up and loving baseball, you're one of the guys that I will go to for information. So I'm gonna get some information from you now. This is on the spot.
Yeah.
I want you to give me your Mount Rushmore for baseball, but we're gonna have some fun.
See how
with
they
this.
soften me up first?
Yeah.
And now you're going to zing me.
Yeah.
All
So we're gonna break this down in like categories. We're gonna do one pitcher, one infielder, one outfielder, one catcher. That will be the 4 on the Mount Rushmore. So we're gonna start with pitcher. Who is the one pitcher you put on the Mount Rushmore?
I mean, it's got to be Nolan Ryan.
Okay.
At the end of the day, that's the first one that came to mind for me. Yeah, Nolan was doing stuff before anybody was doing it. And then the next guy I would think would be Pedro Martinez. Those are the two that come to me first.
I love that. Okay. We're going to come back to infielder. Let's go to catcher.
Ooh, catcher. I got to say Johnny Bench.
Okay.
I mean, I've watched baseball a long time. JT Realmuto is really special. Obviously, you got some Hall of Famers that came along, Piazza, Pudge, all them, but Johnny Bench is a standard. And when you're the standard and you start playing in the 60s, and we're still talking about you're the standard in 2023, as Dusty would say, you're the baddest man I ever seen. That's got to be Johnny Bench.
I'm not going to think I know who the outfielder is because you play with some good ones, right? But outfielder.
That's going to get me in trouble.
Yeah, I knew it.
I mean, I got to go Ken Griffey Jr., right?
Okay.
And then the next guy, you think of Willie Mays, Barry Bonds, all that. I mean, the baddest man, I guess we're talking all time, it's got to be Willie Mays. All right? Yeah. But what I saw in my day has to be Ken Griffey Jr. Yeah. Barry was incredible. What Barry did was amazing. But Jr. gets the nod for defense. People don't realize he covered from wall to wall.
Wow.
And he used to come in. He was fun to play with. He'd come in and go, man, y'all, I got my track shoes on today. Can the brother have a break? Okay, because he was running all over the place catching balls. But he had a cannon of an arm.
Yes.
You know, we talk about the hitting, the pretty swing, all that, and I just talked about his defense. But he had an amazing arm that rivals any throwing arm in the history of the sport.
I love it. And last but not least, infield. One infielder.
I mean, first one that comes to mind for me is Ozzie Smith.
Okay.
I mean, look, the Wizard was the Wizard because Ozzie does not get to the big leagues without his glove.
Okay.
And to win all the Gold Gloves he did consecutively, I was a kid growing up. My older brother Don played in San Diego. I'm gonna give you a little story. You know that Jeff Burroughs ball that he hits and he dives bare hands? I was in the dugout.
Oh.
I was 14. Pow! Throws across the diamond. I'm like, I've never seen nothing like that. And then he's just continued from that day on for me to watch him. When I was in the big leagues and I was finally on the East Coast playing with the Baltimore Orioles, we trained with the Cardinals. Ozzie's now with the Cardinals, and I've known him most of my adult life. And the Cardinals were taking ground balls because we shared a complex. So they're taking ground balls, and I'm watching Ozzie catch ground balls, throw out to first without looking. Catch first base, pow! He catch a grounder, no look. Hey, man, how you doing? Pow! Catch the ground ball. Hey, yeah, we're going to grab lunch. Pow! I'm like, what? So I went out there. Now Orioles' turn. I'm like, cling, cling in the stands.
I love it.
Cling, cling. You know, we're talking about Michael Jordan shooting free throws with his eyes closed. That's just muscle memory and continually working. Ozzie was that great, catching a ground ball, throwing it across the diamond from short, not even looking at it. It was pow.
Wow.
Top that one.
Can't say nothing else. I thought he would have mentioned the backflip. He just made some great points there. Okay, I love it. Well, Mr. Reynolds, Harold, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, man.
You're a baseball lifer. I appreciate what you have done for the sport, what you have done for us, man. Thank you so much, brother.